7 looted antiquities have been returned from France to Egypt. Let's talk about this repatriation Egypt news. 7 Egyptian artifacts were confiscated in Paris this past January after they were confirmed to have left Egypt illegally. They were transferred to the Egyptian embassy to make their way home back last week. The objects include a shabti in a coffin, which is sometimes pretty rare, a figure of Anubis, though he looks a little bit beat up. We also have 2 wooden hands that may have come from a coffin or a wooden mummy board. This is hand number 1. And here's hand number 2. You can see the distinct details on the hands, and this one has a little bit more greenish color, that they are probably not from the same coffin or mummy board. There were also these 3 mini papyrus scrolls, some of them that still actually have their seals on them. The piece that I thought was the most interesting was this terracotta figurine, although his head is missing on that end. And it is probably depicting a bound prisoner, and you're sort of looking at him as he's lying face down with his hands behind his back. But what this could have been actually used for is not totally clear. It may have been part of like a spoon or something, but they don't typically make spoons out of terracotta. Briefly, I just want to point out something that I noticed about these pieces that wasn't necessarily relevant to the 2 previous repatriation news that I've told you guys about. There's a very distinct difference between the pieces that were suddenly at an auction house in Australia and they discover that they don't have the proper papers, and objects that have been recently looted from an archaeological site in Egypt and smuggled out of the country. The latter is what I suspect may have happened with these pieces. You can see these pieces are not in the best condition. They are particularly dirty, don't look like they've been going through any sort of conservation, or essentially sitting in a private collection for very many years. These objects look like they may have been excavated recently, most likely illegally, and then smuggled out of the country. This is all speculation, but I want you guys to kind of see the difference between objects that have been in private collections for a really long time and the person has just decided to repatriate it to a country, or it does seem that it has had illegal papers and it's come out of Egypt much more recently than probably it's claimed to be. And then the objects that are literally still being looted out of the ground by smugglers and looters, and why that is different than actual archaeological excavations and scientific research. So don't forget, these things are still happening in Egypt and around the world.